that are cropping up of late in Bengaluru. And to discuss more on that, what next? What are the steps that will be taken further? We have a panel of guests here. Let me take the pleasure to introduce Mrs. Kumar. We have an activist here. Thank you, Ms. Kumar, for joining us. We have Samaya. Thank you, Smaya, for joining us. You're a protester. Dr. Satish, a child psychiatrist. Thank you, Mr. Satish. We have Aditya, a protester yourself. Thank you, Aditya. We have Mr. B.V. Ramesh, who is a social worker as well as a former police official. Thank you, Mr. Ramesh, for joining us. We have Mavis Mendonca. Thank you, Mavis, from the Red Brigade, who has created a platform and initiated the protest. Thank you for joining us. Also from the Red Brigade, there is Charan Raj. We also have Mark Rego, a popular MC. Mark, you're actively protesting against the number of rape cases. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we have many more protesters. Mr. Paul, we have Hariharan. Thank you, Hariharan. We have Manas and Pavan, as well as Mr. Melvin Smith from the Red Brigade. Well, protest happened. All of you all voiced your concern. The police commissioner came, heard your concerns.
The process starts.
Absolutely. That's definitely a point. Dr. Satish, you had a point to make. You're a child psychiatrist.
How does it scar a girl, child, at least of that age, Mr. Satish?
No, I just wanted to point out one thing before I say about that. Following on from what the madam said, I think you're absolutely right. I think this is a social issue. I think I can see there is a lot of justifiable anger against the law and the police now, and I think this is the right time to step up this and protest and make sure that the justice gets is delivered. But at the same time, we have to see it as a social issue, and I think this sorting out this issue, it has to begin at the house. I think it has to start from education of both the parents and how the parents can educate their own children about the safety, safe behavior, and how to make themselves safe. And I completely agree about the coordinated approach, wherein the civil society and the police and the parents in the school and the NGOs have to really work together. The main issue is not just about reacting to the situation here. We also need to focus on how we can prevent it from happening again. So identification, education are far more important issues as well, I think.
These people were educated.
Mrs.
These people were educated. Parents told them what is a good touch and a bad touch. This young girl, very open-minded parents. Still, she got molested and raped in the police station.
And still, she wasn't able to narrate the entire incident until the parents found out that she was a little depressed.
Parents didn't find out. It was her friend. Her friend, through another friend, came to me, and finally, I was able to talk to her about it.
No, the Vipcure school.
Not Vipcure. Vipcure is a different.
Okay, I'm talking about the other girl.
It's happening. People are keeping quiet.
Mr. Satish, how bad is this scar? I mean, what is the psychology post?
Because some people may think, a 6-year-old girl, maybe she won't remember the incident, maybe in the years to come it will fade. Absolutely. But do you think it leaves some sort of a scar?
Absolutely. It causes lots of psychological damage, especially if it happens for a child so young, even before they realize what exactly they're going through. The damage it causes is enormous. It affects the baby, the child's thinking, its behavior, its feelings altogether. I think it also starts, initially the child probably starts to feel that they were responsible in some ways for that act, and there's a lot of guilt, shame,
I think most often the child as young as her 6 years old will assume that to be a punishment.
Absolutely.
That maybe I was wrong, so I'm punished, and that's what punishment is. That's a form of punishment.
Absolutely. That's one thing the parents need to be aware of. The culprits, the predators who carry out these activities have some kind of psychopathic mentality. They carefully choose their children who are submissive and who are emotionally quite needy. So it's very important how the parents educate the children about how to recognize these things.
And in this case, after the incident took place, it is understood that some of the teachers, the nurse even treated her, gave her first aid, and then somehow they managed to try to hush it up within the girl. So you can only imagine she had to keep it within her for 10 days without even telling her parents, and only through the pain they came to find out.
That's the apathy the madam was talking about. Apathy not just in the police, there's apathy in the medical field as well.
Even with parents.
And there is fear associated with reporting, the guilt in the society.
When a child speaks, the child tells the truth. There's no question of doubting. Even a parent, many times parents never lie. Not on this issue.
No, not at all.
And sometimes even parents will say, don't blame your uncle for this, don't talk like this. And the parents get on the child's case. But children...
Exactly. These are the kind of questions. What did he do? How did he touch you? Disgusting. Mr. Satish.
becomes much more complex when you're dealing with a little child.
Yes.
And particularly when you ask the sensitive questions to the child, first of all, we got to remember the cognitive age of that children, how much the child can recollect, first of all. The child cannot remember the whole thing. Then we have to, it's a very sensitive thing, we have to use the appropriate method to inquire, and it has to come from an expert who is experienced doing this and who knows ins and outs of how to do these things.
Is that the case though?
Absolutely. It
Yes,
has to be
yes,
like
it
that. It has to be an experienced
What
person.
he's saying, such cases, let's say the 6-year-old girl's case, this case should have been investigated with a child psychologist only,
Absolutely.
not police, not
That's what we
even
need to
parents.
change.
Absolutely,
It's all
absolutely.
because of spiritually bankruptcy.
So
Right.
we've got to take up the educational department is what you say. Thank you, Mr. Subramaniam, for sharing your views there. He says take up the educational department for not doing periodic checks at schools.
Just following on what the gentleman said, I think in the larger issue, I think there is a big dent in the social fabric now. The trust, there is a decreasing trust to the
deficit?
system, trust deficit absolutely, with the teachers, with the police, with the law. I think that has to be rectified. Now, we've been talking about the magnitude of punishment for the culprits. I think it's the time bound and the certainty of punishment is much more important than the severity.
But Dr. Satish, we've all been talking about what women wear, about rapists, all of that. When you talk about child sexual abuse, what is going through man's head? It's a 6-year-old little girl. So if you could throw more light on that, how often do these kind of cases take place in Bangalore?
You mean in terms of the culprits or the victims?
In terms of the culprit.
I think that's one thing I was highlighting earlier as well. These culprits are usually first of all you got to remember that 70 to 80% of the sexual abuse against children happen from the people who they're very well known, either with the close relatives or friends or whoever. And when it comes to the psychopath personalities, they actually what they try and do is they're quite charming in their appearance. They become very friendly with the child.
lure with
They groom the
chocolates,
child. They bribe the child. They even go as far as threatening the child. So they do it in a very systematic way. So that's the thing that the parents need to be aware. I think I'm sorry to say that the society is obviously changing a lot. I think the parents in today they have to be more vigilant, even if it means that they have to be skeptical and suspicious about each and everything. That's the world we are living in. So they have to educate.
It's better that than something like this taking place.
Absolutely, prevention I think is very important rather than of course reacting, and the punishment of the culprit is equally important.
I have a question for you, Mr. Satish. This looking at this case at Vibgyor, where she was taken to a dark room and then the two of them executed the rape and left, and then she was washed up and brought back. Does it look like this has happened time and again? This has happened many number of times? Because you just told me that they have to get friendly with the child and all of that. That process is there. How could they have just gone and done this? Do you think they had prepped this? They had laid out the table for this to happen?
Very likely, especially when it happens from a person who is already in contact with the child, either a relative or someone working at the school. It's very likely that the person may have already groomed the child, not just that child, many such children in that school, I don't know. The way they go about is pick the child who is submissive, who is needy in their emotional.
And this particular child was said to have attention deficit disorder, but that's nothing to do with. I mean, she was an absolutely normal girl. But is what the police, is what the doctor said that she had that disorder. Maybe that's why that child was picked.
I don't know. As I said, I don't know how the psychopaths work really, but the thing is, yes, they may have identified some limitations or shortcomings in the child, so that she doesn't go and report. That's one thing we need to focus on: how to educate our children to become more assertive, even to say the word no. They have to strongly able to say
Children
no.
today just cannot say no. They're, I think, trained to say yes to everything because they consider it polite to a large extent. Mark, you have a point.
I want to make a point over here. We were talking about the child molestation. I think if you check any child expert, okay, figures actually point that there are more boy children who are sexually abused than girl children.
Is that true, Dr.
Absolutely. There's no gender bias here.
Is that true? Is that true?
Why I brought this point up is parents who have even little boys. You need to
Have
even
to
watch.
be careful,
You need to
yes.
even watch your little boys. Okay, as much as you're watching the little girls, you need to watch the little boys, because if you ask any sexual expert or child counselor, and I've done a bit of child counseling myself in the past, they will all tell you that the actual figures are a lot higher where boy children are
Yes,
concerned.
yes.
Is
That's
that
one.
true, Dr. Satish? Do you think so?
I'm not actually sure. But there's one study which was done in America where they found that the sexual abuse was as much as about 60% in girl children.
Okay.
Considering even from the minor form of abuse to the rape, and for boys it was around 30%. So it's higher, it's than we expect, but I'm not sure if it's higher than girls.
But what you're trying to say, Mark, is
What
that it's
I just
not
want to
limited
say,
just the
don't,
girls.
yeah, even if you have little boy children, you need to
Absolutely.
keep an eye.
Yesterday we had an entire session on sensitizing small children between the age of 5 and 8,
Correct,
and we
that was a
had
great
girls
program.
and boys, and parents said that they've heard of many instances where little boys were taken away and sort of molested and all of that. But most often parents don't take that seriously, and most often nobody takes that seriously because it's a boy.
And invariably, the crimes that are happening to the little children, invariably and most of the time, there are people who are known to the children. It could be relatives in the family. There have been cases of fathers themselves molesting their daughters. Okay, there have been cases that. So we really need to. As I'm a parent, I've got 3 kids. 2 of them are teenage daughters. I'm scared now. I'm really scared. My wife is petrified of sending my daughter even out to play with the local children in the park. We have to send the maid along with her, or one of us have to go
And we're
along.
not living in a village setup anymore.
Exactly.
That's what's
Right.
unfortunate.
I have a very strong, very strong reason why child abuse happens, and I also have a very strong solution to it. So one of the strong reason, Mr. Satish, correct me if I'm wrong or if you can add on to it. What goes into the mind of a child abuser is he thinks that the child is innocent and child cannot explain the act.
Yes.
Okay, that is the main thing why the child abuser will have the guts to go and do it. Now the reason for it, a lot of parents have adopted the good touch and the bad touch. Now apply the good touch and the bad touch even with your neighbors. It could be your chachas, your uncles, whoever. Do it. It's all right. It's better to be safe than sorry. Let the girl know the good touch and the bad touch. The parents need to openly tell the girl, these places cannot be touched. If somebody is doing this, stop. Bring about it to me and tell me right away. And when this starts happening, the child abuser will stop doing it.
Yeah, I mean, this was the solution that we came down to, which is why News 9 had an elaborate counselling session. Lovely.
Right.
Smala?
I think castration is one of the best option. If you actually
A lot of youngsters agree.
if you implement it on one guy who did it right now, probably the rest going to be scared. What's going to happen to me?
very true.
And instead of hanging them, put them up, lock them up in a room, and let them suffer. Let them know the pain. What's taken away from the girl? Let the guy know what it is. Why should always the girl feel what it is? Why not the guy?
Yeah, castration is the solution. Mr. Satish.
I think I want to say that I think I have 4 points to say quickly. First of all, we have to focus on how to prevent these things from happening again, and if it does happen, how to identify and how to respond. You have to it should be a time bound certainty of punishment. I don't know what the magnitude. I know people are highly emotional about what should be the magnitude of punishment. I completely understand that, but in terms of prevention, I think we should create an environment right from the individual level, family level and community level, that the child or the girl, whoever the victim is able to freely talk about it, openly come and report to the authorities, so that the trust has to come back.
Appropriate counselling sessions must be carried out
Absolutely.
in
Proper
schools, and parents should take the onus
Absolutely.
as well.
Proper education at home and under the schools as well. And just stressing upon the point that there should be a coordinated work between all authorities, NGOs and the families.
And doctors.
And absolutely. And yes, exactly. That was my 4th point, that it's not just identifying, responding. The main thing is how to make sure that we provide the appropriate help for the victim.
And looking at the way things are happening, it seems like there should be counselling for parents, teachers, students, all of them.
Absolutely, it has to be an ongoing thing, because I already highlighted
And constant reminders. It's not once done, forgotten.
Because the amount of psychological damage I already highlighted is enormous, so we got to accept that and help the individual to reintegrate them into society, so that they can lead an absolutely normal life without any fear or any
You basically tried to say the government itself is not taking responsibility for the CCTVs on the roads. Why will the schools take it? Absolutely, an example must be set by the government itself. Only then will the rest of it fall in place, right? There you go. You heard it from all of them here at our panel. Everybody everybody giving different solutions. At the end of it, it comes down to how each one of us has got to take the responsibility for something as heinous as rape. A fast-track court probably should be set up. The government needs to act immediately, and it should be a time-bound action taken. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more news and updates on the other side.